excitement of game week being here and facing Western Kentucky, and then we'll go ahead and take questions after that. Coach?
Yeah, excited to finally be in game week. Obviously, it's been a whirlwind 8 months for our guys. For us as a coaching staff, a lot to get done, and what 8 months may sound like a long time, but it's a very short window to get all the things you need in order to get a football team prepared to go execute on Saturday. And so I think Coach DeBoer's done a really tremendous job just preparing our guys through all the situations, getting our guys prepared for all the things that they need to in order to execute and maximize their opportunities. I think from a workload standpoint, our strength staff, our training staff has done a really tremendous job navigating our guys, getting them ready for fall camp, and then getting them ready here for the season. I think, the days leading up from the last scrimmage that we had, whatever that was, a little over a week ago, to where we are right now, we've done a great job of managing their bodies and getting some of their legs back and all those things, and still being physical and keeping the main thing at the same time. And so here we are at game week, and we've got a little bit of a jump on Western Kentucky than we would on a normal Monday, which is really nice to kind of ease into to that first game plan and let our guys get a feel for how we run scout teams, how we game plan. Most of our off season is spent on teaching the guys from a defensive perspective. We teach them the defensive concepts. We never teach them exactly what their job is. We talk about the bigger concept of the defense. This is how we play cover 3. This is how we play cover 1. Now here's your role within the framework of the defense. Here's how teams are going to attack us in these coverages, the weaknesses, the strengths, all those things. Then we talk about the situational application. Here's how cover 3 or this call is applied on 3rd down versus the red zone versus 2 minute when they need a field goal and 2 minute when they need a touchdown. Those are 2 totally different scenarios, and we apply our concepts differently. But now the majority of time will be focused on offensive recognition, and I think that's where we have done a great job over the years in getting our players to play defense with anticipation, whereas defense is inherently reactionary. We're starting to get our guys to understand those formations, those concepts that will happen in downs to downs where a guy can make a difference in the ball game. And so our players are leaning into that really well. We've got some very smart young men on defense, some guys that have seen a lot of balls, some guys that have not seen a lot of collegiate football, and I think our leaders are doing a really good job of kind of setting the tone of what those scout periods are supposed to look like. So it's game week. We're ready to roll.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with left side, Chase.
Coach, wanted to ask you about communication in the secondary. Malachi Moore being a veteran in the middle of the field, how much has he been able to lead the secondary in that respect? And other than Malachi, who are some of the best communicators back there?
It's a great question. Well, when you have a guy like Malachi Moore, you really set the standard in terms of the leadership. I think when you talk about leadership and being a person that it emulates what it's supposed to look like, right? Leading by example. He is one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen in practice every single day. Whether it's a workout, whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's a practice, he really sets the standard of what it's supposed to look like. Down in and down out, play in and play out. When he goes to the sideline, he's constantly communicating with other guys on the defense about what we need to fix, what we saw out there in real time. Him and Deontay Lawson, I think, are truly special communicators that have had a lot of experience in this defense. But when you add guys like Jihad Campbell, who have been here, but maybe have not had the rep base of experience like those guys, I think he's done a tremendous job. But particularly on the back end, I think Keon Sabb has been phenomenal. His ability, I was so impressed even with week 1 when he got here and we started doing some little walkthroughs and meetings and all that kind of stuff. His retention of our defense, and now he's starting to play with anticipation. He's communicating at a high level, and if you can keep up with Malachi Moore, I think that's a pretty great job there.
Left side, Tony.
You've got kind of an interesting case with TJ Finley. This will be his 3rd time playing Alabama with his 3rd school, and then you also faced him at South last year. Does that affect the way you scout him? And then having seen him before, what does he offer as a quarterback?
Yeah, obviously when a player has had experience, right, playing against the team, right, there's a certain level of comfort, especially if you've been in a stadium or whatever that may be. But then, when you faced a guy, you've seen in real time how he responds to success, how he responds to adversity. Quarterbacks are so much of what progression does this quarterback go through? What is his pre-snap routine? What does his cadence look like? And so getting to see some of those things in real time, right, has, certainly helps. I would say it probably helps on both sides in some ways. But really impressed with him a year ago. I thought, he's got a really good release. He can make all the throws. I thought he did a really good job of managing their offense really well. Took what was given early, but can work through a progression. And so it'll be interesting to see how, Tyson and their staff utilizes him maybe different than what DJ Kane did or the Auburn staff before that or whatever it may be, right? But I think he's got a skill set that you can utilize in a number of different ways. And then, he's a big son of a gun, and so he's a guy that can fall forward, right? And if he does, he's going to go for 3 or 4 yards just getting downhill. One of the things that we really lean into are what are their, escape styles. He may have a very different escape style than what we've seen from Ty Simpson or Jalen Milroe, and those are things that we want to get our guys very clued into as we're getting ready to match these guys up from a personnel standpoint.
Jump to the right side, Charlie.
Just what kind of progress have you seen from the cornerback group as a whole from practice 1 through now, I guess 21 or 20? And then is that a group that you can maybe envision playing multiple guys at in game 1?
Yeah, I think Maurice Lindquist does a tremendous job, and he's done a tremendous job with those players. You look at it, whether they're guys that have experience in college football but did not play here at Alabama, or they're young freshmen. I think everyone that in that room is trending in the right direction, and that to me is a great indicator of tremendous coaching. I think it's also a tremendous indicator of young men that have an opportunity and are trying to make the most of their opportunity. And so, when you got guys like Damani Jackson who have played, the game, but he's learning a new defense, right? He's learning a new culture, a new system, a way of doing things, right? I think he has really taken to that. I've seen great leaps from him. Deshaun Jones has really done a tremendous job in a short amount of time. I think from where he got when he got here to where he is right now, just physically, I think he's changed his body. You often don't see that from older players, but I think his body has changed, and that's a credit to Dave Ballou and our strength staff as well. But those younger freshmen have been really impressive to me. When you look at guys that are, all 3 of those young freshman DBs, right, should have still been in high school this spring. And what was impressive to me is when they would make a mistake, they would work to correct it and often would not make it again. I think each one of them have taken a major step forward through the off season, through the summertime and into fall camp. And so you're going to see a lot of them play. And so I think it's something that's really exciting. I've said this before, experience is finite. Sometimes we're going to have to go through some of those adversities, right? You're going to take your lumps every now and then as a young freshman. But what I've been excited about is those guys have shown that when they do make a mistake, that they can get it fixed moving forward. And if they'll do that, they'll continue to elevate their game throughout the season.
Stay with Nick on the front right here.
Yeah, I believe, was it 22 that you faced Western Kentucky at South Alabama? I mean, what stands out about their offense and the challenges that they do?
Well, I've always been impressed with Tyson Helton, with Clay Helton. I've gone against those guys. They really kind of come from the, all of those guys. Braum, Jeff Braum and the Petrinos, and some of what they do schematically, I think is one of the better offensive systems in the country right now. They do a really good job of attacking you vertically down the field, but they take easy access throws as you give them in the passing game. They're creative in the run game. They're not afraid to run their quarterback and get in some of the 1+ offensive game as well to create extra matchups and extra numbers at the point of attack in the run game. And then I think they're creative guys. I mean they They're going to utilize tempo to their advantage. They do a really good job of working formations in and out of tempo, a lot of different formations and nuances that maybe you haven't worked that you got to be able to fix in real time in a game. And then, you see all types of tricks, you see all types of different shots and stuff like that. I think, they're aggressive play callers, and I think, something that's, I've seen them over the years, and it's really admirable, right, the way they go about things, and it's impressive how aggressive they are in certain areas. So we'll have our work cut out for us. This is, you can say what you want about a group of 5 versus power 4 matchup, whatever we are now, but this is a very dynamic offense, and they will challenge us in a number of ways schematically. So we're going to have our work cut out for us.
Stay on the right side, Matt.
Have you utilized Brian Ellis at all, given his experience working with Tyson on that staff?
We're gonna utilize all the resources of our program and personnel and people and experiences that they've had to maximize our opportunity for game day.
Go to the left side, Steven.
He had to wait his time, Coach, but what impressed you the most about Q Robinson as one of those Wolf guys?
Yeah, I think, Q has been here a long time. He's worked his tail off day in and day out. He's a guy that has, has probably had the majority of his role on special teams, but when he's gone in, he knows what to do. I think he has elevated his game from a production standpoint on defense. I've seen some really good things from him in terms of not just being a guy that knows his job, but knows how to create in the backfield and create in some of the things that we're doing with him and pass defense as well. And so I've been really impressed with him. He's a great leader, steady presence out there on the field, and he works his tail off. And so he's another one of those guys that's a great example bearer of what it's supposed to look like, and he's not afraid to have the the uncomfortable conversations, the challenging conversations with somebody that he sees that may not be holding the standard the way that he knows it's supposed to be done. So that cannot be undervalued with especially a younger defense as we have here.
Let's jump to the back row on the right, Ryan.
Coach, a good question was asked to Coach Sheridan about the steadiness of Kalen DeBoer. You coach with him as well. When game week comes around, what can you tell about to the fans about what kind of coach he is on game week and how that leadership is helpful come Saturday?
Well, I think one of the things that has always impressed me about Kalen is whether you're game planning or you're hanging out on a back porch in a pool, right, or you're in the fourth quarter in the middle of a big game, he's the same guy, and that is a superpower. It really is for him. The way in which he is able to keep the main thing amidst all the noise is something that I think has served him really well as a head coach. It's served him well as a coordinator. And I think our players lean into that humble confidence that he shows in those moments. You don't take the Alabama job after Coach Saban if you don't have a certain level of confidence about you. But there's a level of humility that he carries himself that I think, Greg Byrne made the perfect hire, in terms of what Kalen brings to the table for this team and carrying on the legacy that, that certainly Coach Saban has said, and then other greats before him as well. And so knowing that was a huge reason of why I wanted to come here. I loved my opportunity and loved my time in South Alabama and enjoyed being a head coach. But I think some of those things, right, being in the foxhole with him and seeing the confidence that he carries day in and day out was something that I wanted to be a part of his staff here as well. So excited to go through the foxhole again with him.
We got 3 more questions left. We'll start with Katie on the left side.
I know this time of year there's always excitement about it being the first game, but when it's your first game at a new job, whether it was when you were a head coach at South and now as a coordinator, is there kind of like a different anticipation or nervousness, or do you get to a point in your coaching career where there's not really nerves anymore?
I think there's always nerves, to a degree, right? You're always, it's like getting ready for a big trip with a family of 5, right? 3 boys. What did I forget? What did I miss? You know what I mean? Did I pack everything the right way? I think you're trying to go through those checklists, make sure that you did all the right things, and then it's game day. It's exciting. One of the fun things about college football is that you only get a small amount of opportunities to show all the work that you've put in year round, right? So we put all this work in, we put all these man hours in, all the time and energy sacrifices that we make away from our family for 3.5 hours, right, of getting to show what really what we have to show for ourselves. And so from that perspective, right, it's exciting. It'll be something that our players are chomping at the bit. Our coaches are ready to go. But I would say, I feel in my element as a coordinator. I loved, my time as a head coach, and I enjoyed that as well. But this feels very familiar to me. It's something that I just enjoy calling plays. It's probably one of the things I missed the last 3 years, is not getting to be the play caller on game day, and I am looking forward to doing that again.
Okay, we'll finish Kennington in the front row, then we'll have Emily Grace sitting on the right side. Go ahead, Kennington.
Kind of continuing the question about Q Robinson, what have you seen from the entire Wolf room from practice 1 to this point, and what do you want to see out of them on Saturday?
Well, Christian Robinson, I have known for a number of years. He's worked in this system before. He worked in my dad, coached the linebackers alongside with him, so he knows what the standard's supposed to look like schematically in our defense, and the versatility that Wolf position brings to our defense as well. I've been really impressed with that group as a room. I think they all have versatile skill sets that we're going to be able to utilize in different ways schematically. Personnel groupings that we have on the field, right? You may see multiple of those guys at different times in the games, depending on the situation. And so their ability to do multiple things from a mental standpoint and then from a physical standpoint will allow us to utilize them in a number of different ways. And so I think Christian's done a really good job of getting them prepared for that, and I think those guys have really leaned into that process as well.
Emily Grace, last question.
Coach, what are some qualities about your defense that you learned during fall camp that you need to see translate on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, one of the things that we always look for is there is an energy that you have to play the game with from a defensive standpoint. There's a certain level of juice. There's a physicality that the game's supposed to be played with from a defensive standpoint. I think when you turn on the tape, and really watching as a head coach the last 3 years has only solidified that in my mind of how the game is supposed to be played defensively. When you turn on the tape, it is evident that those guys play at a fever pitch or they don't. And we always want to be the team that when you turn on the tape, right, we are playing a swarm defense mentality football, right? 11 bodies that are responsible of stopping the offense with a run or pass. They're playing with tremendous effort and finish. That's 4 to 6 seconds from point A to point B with violent intentions when we get there, right? And that needs to show up on Saturday. So those are the things that I think I've seen from them. They took it to another level. I think in the springtime, you're still learning this defense. All the nuances are complicated and some of the things you're still thinking about. But I saw them kind of kick some things into gear as we went through fall camp and probably finished in that last scrimmage, and probably as good of a place as you could ask for right now. So. But we got to go do it. We're going to take some lumps, right? Those things, adversity is going to hit and they're going to happen. But how we respond to it, and if we can keep the main thing, which is playing with tremendous aggression, I think we're going to be fine on defense here.
All right, thank you,
All right,
Coach.
thanks, guys. Roll Tide.